Hello everybody, since the next Paladins patch is imminent, I thought we would continue our Onslaught players tier list. This time it's just me, and as per usual, I would treat these more like a podcast, so if you want, go do your chores, take a walk, although you might not want to walk with this blistering heat right now. Our tiers, we have S, this is a godly ultimate, A is mostly good, B is middle of the road, usually player dependent. Good players can get value, whereas not so good players might struggle to get value. C tier is inconsistent, not the best, and then Sim tier is just garbage ultimates. On top of the base ultimates, I also included talents that change your ultimates. Some, like Makawa's Leviathan, don't really change the ultimate, but I feel like some people would comment, hey, you didn't include this talent, so... Any talent that changes the ultimate or affects the ultimate somewhat is here. Alrighty, so first up we got Androxus with what I call the Gumball Launcher. This is a cursed arm where you transform your weapon into an explosive revolver that deals 1000 damage in an area. By the way, y'all, I am referencing the Paladins wiki for ability descriptions. I've always been referencing them. It's really good. So you get 4 shots in your revolver that deals 1000 damage in a 15 unit area. The explosion drop-off, so if you don't hit the shot directly, it is really harsh. So you need to hit those directs. Using the ability consumes 40% of your ult charge, and each shot consumes an additional 15%. If you don't use all of the shots, you do get part of your ultimate refunded, so 15% per unfired shot. I mean, there are times where this, like, shreds through a group. It's 2000 DPS, there's nothing to scoff at. More often than not, I see this used to just, like, annihilate a poor support in the backline, and I feel like it does that job well enough. I think B tier's fine. Ideally, we want to see most ultimates in B tier. Up next, we got Ashe with Assert Dominance. Leap upward and forward through the air and slam your banner in the ground, dealing 600 damage and stunning enemies for 2 seconds in a 30-unit radius. This impact creates a damage immune zone for yourself that lasts for 8 seconds. You must remain in the zone to keep the benefits. It has an activation time of 1.2 seconds in which you can get crowd controlled and the ult gets cancelled and you have to reactivate it again. You are not CC immune during your damage immunity, so Con is a hard counter to you. Any knockbacks are just hard counters to Ashe. You could get grabbed out of your flag, you could get freaking poor Ashes get like violated when they use their ult. That being said, when you do get a good ult, the stun is really helpful. If it didn't have the stun, I don't think it would be that great. Initially, it didn't have the stun. That was added later. That used to be a talent. Just like, Talus punches you out of the thing, you're screwed. You could get stunned, and that'll just, like, waste time. Granted, that's a stun hitting you, and you're, like, damage immune, where it's not hitting your teammate. You could get IO ulted out of there. You could get, like... for now, I'm gonna put it C tier with a possibility to move it to low B. Up next, we got Atlas with Exile, where you get 3 modified weapon shots that banish enemies for 4 seconds. Banished enemies can't be interacted with in any way, so they can't be healed, they can't take damage, they can't be stunned. They're just basically taken out of the game for 4 seconds. Using the ability consumes 40% ult charge, and each weapon shot consumes an additional 20%. So if you don't use all 3 shots, you do get part of your ultimate refunded. It is affected by resilience, so against max resilience, the banish is only for 1 second, which is like nothing. And additionally, this can save enemies in a lot of cases. Oh, you also get CC immunity. Sorry, forgot to mention that. Atlas does get CC immunity, so you can use it to like counter other ults, which I guess is nice. The fact that you can save enemies with this, like, sucks so much. Like, your Skye could throw down her ultimate, a time bomb, and enemies won't get out of the way, and if you accidentally use this on them, they'll live. They'll survive the bomb. But alternatively, if you're playing around your team properly, you can zone out 3 people from the enemy team, take out the other 2, and then you have a 5v3. So you could also, like, clump up on one enemy, like, put them in timeout, because you can land 2 shots, one after the other, and just have them in stasis for 8 seconds, and then you could use your rewind after, and it's like 10 seconds. So, it's the fact that you could save enemies with this, though, that, like, is so rough. I'm trying to think. I feel like Ash's ultimate is more consistent, so I'm gonna put Atlas below Ash. Because this is also a skill shot, you can miss it. There's like a very slight auto-aim to it, but not very intense like Leon. Next up, we got Azan with Deliverance, where you rise up into the air for 6 seconds, reducing the damage you take by 50%. Then, you could fire at the ground to throw your hammer, dealing 725 damage and applying a slight knockback on hit. Shortly after your hammer lands, you teleport to it, dealing 250 additional damage and applying a larger knockback in that same area. This ult I feel like is not that great. More often than not, you don't get any kills with it. It doesn't apply Cauterize. Most ultimates don't apply Cauterize to my knowledge, so, you know, if it's not killing the enemy outright or applying heavy CC, it's just doing like a little bit of tickle damage. It's like, Also, after you land, Azan is locked out of doing anything for 1.6 seconds. He has this dumb animation where he like lifts the hammer up, and very often that could get you killed. A lot of times I see Azan players just using the ultimate to run away when they're low health, because you get the damage reduction. So I mean, in like that regard, it's good, I guess. You can run away. I mean, sometimes you could get low health enemies, but it's like, you probably still could have got them with your normal primary fire. You didn't have to use your ultimate for that. It just feels like a better Corvus ult, and Corvus ult is not that great, spoilers. So, I think I'm going to put it above Atlas, just because you can use this to escape, and that is a strength. You know, living to see another fight, not having to go to respawn, getting healed up. And there are times where you can get kills with it, obviously. I just don't think it's that great. Up next is Barrage with Dome Shield. Create a Dome Shield with 10,000 HP and deploy an additional flamethrower turret that deals 600 damage per second to enemies within 22 units. The flamethrower turret from this ultimate actually goes through enemy barriers and shields, so this is really good for getting pressure on the enemy point tank. So like if you have a Fernando just sitting there with Aegis and you can't do anything because Barrage's primary doesn't do a lot of damage, you just plop this down, you get him to back off. 6 second duration, that's kind of my one complaint with the ultimate. It feels like very often the ultimate expires before it could really do anything. Like, yes, you can block a lot of damage, but it's like the flamethrower turret is so short range, it's really just for getting people off the point. And I mean, in that respect, it does the job well. This ultimate takes forever to charge. It doesn't say it anywhere on the wiki, but I feel like this ult takes years to charge, so you don't see that many in game. I think the gumball launcher is more consistent. Yeah, you can block like a Ruckus Hexafire with this. You can push enemy tanks off, but I mean, is that really better than just like spitting gumballs at a support and annihilating them? I don't know. Continuing on, we have our first talent for an ultimate. This is Forge Fire, where the Dome Shield now costs 40% ult charge and places a flamethrower turret with modified values in no shield. You could have 2 flamethrower turrets up at once. These turrets have 1,750 HP. They deal 320 DPS per turret. They have a 30 unit range, which is longer than the actual Dome Shield ultimate itself. And these flamethrower turrets do not go through enemy shields. Initially, this talent used to cost 35% ult charge, and I feel like that was a lot better. At 40%, it feels like it takes forever to get these. And additionally, when you're using this talent, you don't have the defensive use of the Fortify talent, which is kind of like Barrage's meta talent, where you have more HP on the shield, so you're very frail with this. And it's just like for an extra 320 DPS. I mean, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, but this talent used to be busted when the flamethrower turret went through shields, but now it's just like, okay, you have more point pressure. But what I see people doing with this is normally people will ignore Barrage's normal turrets because they barely do any damage, so ultimately that becomes a strength because you're still getting that constant chip damage. People focus the hell out of the flamethrower turrets. Nobody wants to get hit by that. So these end up going down really fast, and even with morale boost, it takes forever to get this. I think I'm going to put it below Atlas. actually, in C. I don't think it's sim tier because it does have a use of, like, holding a point. And I know this is based around Onslaught, but when you're on Siege and you're with the moving cart, like, these become even harder to use. Onslaught, it does fare a little better, but not by much. Up next, we got Betty Lobomba with Long Live the Queen, where you summon and control a large rocket that you can ride into enemies or send flying in the direction of your crosshairs by launching it early. It does 1,900 damage, has a windup of 1.1 seconds, which locks you in place, so if you're in the air, you'll actually stay airborne. 7-second duration, projectile speed of 80 units a second, which is pretty fast. This is a really fun ultimate to use. There is a really massive bug, which is yet to be fixed, where if you ride the rocket into somebody directly, like you don't launch it early, there's a very high chance that you'll just do no damage. And it still eats all your ult charge. It's super frustrating. That being said, does it say how big the AoE is? Okay, it does not say how big the AoE is, but trust me, in-game, the AoE of this ultimate is huge. You could be very off-target and still get that full 1900 damage. I think it's pretty good. I think the ult also does go through shields. I could be wrong on that because it's not listed on the wiki, but I'm fairly certain it goes through shields, so I'm going to put it at A. Maybe it'll be low A by the time we're done with this, but I think it's a pretty good ult. Up next, we got Bomb King with King Bomb. Great name for his ultimate, just swapping the words around. Where you embody your reign and become the King Bomb for 5 seconds, able to roll around and explode by refiring the ability. While rolling, you're immune to crowd control. The explosion deals 2,500 damage, stuns enemies for 2 seconds, and applies a slight knockback to yourself. This ability ignores shields, fully effective up to 5 units, and will hit enemies up to 45 units away. 2,500 damage, really good. You can execute somebody with that. Stunning for 2 seconds, also really good. If you don't execute them, chances are you or your team will be able to follow up with that. The slight knockback, that's really just so you don't get, like, annihilated right away. Ignoring shields, also really good. My 2 complaints with this ultimate is rolling around, the controls are really wonky. That's something you just have to see in game. I can't really describe it, but it's really tight. Like, I guess akin to like ROM Juggernaut, where you're running, you can't really turn, you have limited turning capability. Also, you can die while using the ultimate, but I guess the benefit of that is if you do die, the ultimate goes off, so if you're near somebody, you're still getting that damage, chances are you could take someone down with you. I think this is actually better than Betty Lobomba's Long Live the Queen. Just, you have more damage, you have a pretty long stun, 2 seconds is nothing to scoff at. Like, that's pretty good, and CC immunity, so you can use it to counter enemy crowd control, which is always pretty good. Up next is Buck with Buck Wild. Go Buck Wild, refilling your ammo and increasing your attack speed by 60% for 6 seconds. You also get infinite ammo during the duration, which I believe is the biggest strength of the ultimate. It's not that great. It just modifies your weapon, you fire faster, infinite. The infinite ammo is the nicest thing about this, because you don't have to deal with Buck's annoying reload, only having 5 shots, but like... has a duration of 6 seconds. I mean, like, it's okay. 700 damage every 0.625 seconds. It's like roughly 1,000 DPS. I could be wrong. I'm just spitballing here. I think it's better than Azan. You know what? No. Azan, you could run away. It's just, it doesn't do anything. You just attack a little faster. Like, it's like, okay, fine. Sure, that's cool, I guess. Really, just not much to say with that one. You attack faster. Alrighty, next up we have our newest champion, Caspian, with Storm of Blades. Summon 5 ethereal swords around you. Fire off one of these piercing projectiles when you fire either your primary or your secondary lever war, dealing 800 damage. This might be the most inaccurate placing, obviously, because Caspian is our newest champion and I've only played with him like once. And even though his base kit seems kind of lacking, it might be better now that they fixed his dash. I've yet to play with that in a match. His ultimate did not feel bad. It felt pretty good, I would say, actually. It doesn't feel like amazing. You don't really feel this burst of power because you're not really doing anything different. You're just using your primary or secondary normally, which I guess is like in the same vein as Buck, but it's actually different. Like you're getting, how much does the gun do? The gun does 350, right? Yeah, Love does 350, so you're getting a 1,000 an 1150 burst from using the gun, whereas using the sword, oh, gets you the same thing up to 350. So you're getting 1,100 bursts. I mean, that's pretty good. And it comes out quickly. You don't have to do anything different. The cast time's pretty quick. I feel like it's just Buck Ultimate, but better. Because you could also use this, like, long range. You're not limited by short range like Buck is. And I think, do these swords pierce their shields? I'm not sure about that. It pierces enemies, which is also great. Buck doesn't do that. I think I'm going to put it at the bottom of A tier with the possibility of moving to the top of B. Next up is Cassie with Scout. Send your bird into the sky for 8 seconds, revealing enemies to allies and increasing your move speed by 30%. This is really good in Siege. At the start of the round, you just use this and any flanking advantage is gone. Even in Onslaught, if the team's regrouping, you can pop this and just shut down any perspective of like a flanking opportunity, surprise attack. You could also use this to counter Maeve's Midnight, which just sucks for Maeve. I'm trying to think. I mean, you could use it to counter stealth champions, like they don't have enough counters. I think it's fine. Nothing too special. I'm going to put it... Increased movement speed is very nice on this. I'm going to put it below Androxus. Right in B. Doesn't do anything crazy. Up next, we have, I think, our first sim tier. This is Corvus Entropic Breach. Channel the secrets of the abyss. Rise up into the air, decreasing the damage you take by 60% and becoming immune to crowd control. While hovering, you have limited movement and can target an area on the ground, dealing 15% of the enemy target's max health as damage and creating a charged area that persists for 6 seconds, dealing 6.25 max health as damage every 0.5 seconds, and slowing enemies caught in it by 45%. The slow persists for half a second after leaving the area, can be reactivated to cancel. The ultimate deals 90% of the enemy's max HP over the full duration. It doesn't even kill anybody. And you are slow as hell when casting this. You could think you could like run away with this like you can with Azan and later Vora with their damage reduction. No, you can't. You could just like sit in the air defenseless while the enemy mows you down. This is... oh my god, you could just walk out of the field without any consequence. It doesn't apply Cauterize, so enemy healers can literally just pump healing into their front lines to tank it. The area is small, it like covers a point on King of the Hill, but like wow, just stand away from the point for 6 seconds. It just sucks. If I were to change this ultimate in any way, I would have the inverse effect for allies standing in it. Maybe even, like, lesser values, but if an ally's standing in it, they get a speed boost of 45%, and they're healed for a certain percent of their max health. I think that would help it a lot, kind of be like a side grade to Grok's ultimate, but as it is right now, it's just like, why? It sucks! I'm sorry! Up next, we got Dredge with the Kraken. Create a rift at your target location, unleashing the Abyssal Kraken after 1.45 seconds in a 25-unit radius. Kraken deals 2,500 damage and applies knockback to enemies hit. This ultimate has kind of been through the ringer balance-wise over the years since Dredge released, and now finally, since the recent activation time buff, I think it's finally in a good place. Like, at one point it did 1,700 damage, I think. That sucked, and like, I might be wrong. Maybe it never did 1,007, but I know they like lowered the damage drastically at one point. I'm just trying to see. Kraken. Oh yeah, no, it did. It used to do 1,400 damage at one point. Like, wow, that sucked. But as it is right now, I feel like this is just like Corvus ult, but way better. It has about the same radius as Corvus' ult, 2,500 damage kills squishy heroes, even with Haven capped out, I think. Could be wrong on that. Against front lines, takes out a big chunk of their health and does displace them with the knockback. The knockback is pretty significant. And really, it's just that charge time. It used to be 1.7 seconds, and then it was made 1.45 seconds. It feels so much better with 1.45 seconds. Like, if you don't use a movement skill right away when this is activated, you're dead. I think I'm gonna put it... See, it's the Gumball Launcher. I think the Gumball Launcher is just more consistent. Alright, we'll put it above Cassie. Yeah, we'll put it above Cassie. Up next is Drogoz with Dragon Punch. After 2 seconds, unleash your fury to jet up to 400 units through the air, dealing 100% of your target's max health is damaged to the first enemy you collide with. You're immune to crowd control while flying, and you cannot hit targets immune to damage. Ending the ability without hitting anybody also gives you 30% ult charge back. This is an S tier. It's a free execute. It's just taking someone out like that, so powerful. The only thing that sucks is you typically are putting yourself out of position to use this, but luckily Drogoz has his jetpack to, more often than not, get him out of a sticky situation. And even then, if you trade, if you take someone important down with you, like the enemy support, like, good luck, it's already in your favor. Next up, we have Evie with the deadliest ultimate in the real world. This is Ice Storm. Summon a massive Ice Storm that deals 40 damage every 0.25 seconds, so this is 120 DPS, and cripples enemies caught inside. This lasts 6 seconds, has a radius of 25 units, and enemies caught also have their movement speed reduced by 60% for the duration. So what's really strong about this is resilience only reduces the slow. You can't reduce the duration of this with resilience. You can't stop the cripple with resilience, which means even late game, this is still a really strong ultimate. I guess one downside is you do have to go close range with this, whereas like Evie's a character who likes to not be in close range for very long. You like to blink in and out, use your sword, go all crazy. But even then, crowd control on a flanker is incredibly strong. You could also follow up on this ultimate with your teammates, just because the enemies can't escape. That is so good. I kind of want to put this one in S tier as well. Because, like, you could blink in. If you're using Wormhole, for example, you could blink in, pop your ult, blink out, and have your teammates follow up. 6 second duration is very long. I feel like you use this on a support, you just get a free kill. You know what? I'm going to put it at the top of A for now. Might move it later. And next up we have Snow Globe, which is pretty much the same thing. Your Ice Storm has its damage increased by 100%, so it does 240 DPS. Its ultimate charge is decreased by 50%, so what this means is you could use your ultimate at 50% charge, but its duration is reduced to 3 seconds. I feel like even with 3 seconds, that's more than enough time, and with Morale Boost, you get this ultimate so quick. You just have a constant cripple as a flanker. Hot take, I think Snow Globe is actually better than the base ultimate. I think Snow Globe's really underrated. Everybody's running Wormhole. I mean, try out Snow Globe, y'all. Really good. Up next, we got Fernandorc with Immortal. Rally your allies around you, preventing them from falling below 1,500 health. So, all your allies, including yourself within 70 units, cannot be brought down below 1,500 health. You also are immune to crowd control as Fernando, and the effect lasts for 4 seconds. Fernando is also slowed by 50% during the ultimate. If you use this selfishly, it's garbage. Hot garbage. But I have been gypped of so many like instant kills. Like, you could use this to counter Drogoz ult, you could use this to counter everything. Just not dying. Really good. I think I'm gonna put this... Ooh, I want to put it S tier. I'm just not sure if this is stronger than Drogoz Dragon Punch. Trying to look at our other... Would we really say Fernando's ultimate is the best in the game? I mean, I think it's damn good. Not dying. I think I'm gonna keep it below Drogoz, just because more often than not, Drogoz gets consistent value, whereas like a Fernando might use it selfishly, and then he dies like when the ultimate's done, not saving anybody. But with a coordinated team, with a smart player, this ult is so damn good. Up next, we got Furia with Inflame. Channel the power of the Pyre to become untargetable, granting your allies 30% weapon damage and movement speed for 8 seconds. Additionally, you fully reload the weapons of all affected allies. Damage boosting in this game is incredibly powerful. There's a reason why Luminary Genos was extremely controversial in his heyday, and then that got reworked. There's a reason why the damage bonus from Yagoroth Piercing Quills was removed. There's a reason why Torvald's Field Study got its damage bonus nerfed to, like, where it's just nothing now. At 8 seconds, that is so good. Like, if you're Amani, for example, and you do the Fire Burst combo, which is 2 fireballs back-to-back from Mana Rift, that damage goes from 2,000 to 2,600. You can, like, execute people. And also, the damage buff and move speed buff applies to Furia herself, so you could use this selfishly as well. I think this is... We might end up moving it, but I think for now, this is the best ultimate in the game. And you also, like, can dodge, like, a stun with it. That's the problem with this ultimate. A lot of Furias will be low on health, and they'll use this to save themselves, and then die a second later, which is, like, that is kind of the same vein as Fernando, but I think damage is always just better in this game. Let's keep it at S. Alrighty, next up we have Grok with Tempest. Surge with elemental power and take flight for 5 seconds, increasing your movement speed while channeling. While the ability is active, slow and strike up to 3 nearby enemies for 200 damage, while healing up to 3 nearby allies for 350 health every 0.5 seconds. So you're dealing roughly 400 DPS and 700 healing. Allies affected by your Tempest also have their move speed bumped up by 50% for 2 seconds. Your Tempest has a radius of 50 units, can be refired to cancel. Enemies hit are slowed by 60% for 2 seconds, while allies healed get 50% move speed for 2 seconds. It can heal Grok himself, and Grok flies at roughly double the movement speed in the direction he's pointing at. So, hot take, I think this is another S tier ultimate. Just, you use this with your team, like, especially, like, durable off-tanks who like to get in close anyway, and you could just, like, shred your opposition because they can't get away. They're slowed so heavily while you're speed boosting in. This ultimate's really fun to play with if you have a Terminus on your team. The one downside is it is affected by Cauterize, so you could very often late game just shoot Grok down before the ultimate gets full value. Ooh, I don't know about that. You know what? I'm gonna keep it at S tier. Just because it does more than just damage and slow enemies, it also applies the inverse effects to allies. So this is what I'm talking about. Corvus. Freaking. And you can move around so you can, like, pick up people if they're out of range. I think it's good. Next up, we have Grover with Whirlwind. Rapidly heal allies within 40 units for 2,500 health every 1 second. The effect lasts 4 seconds, and you could cancel the ultimate early, in which case a portion of your ultimate charge is refunded. That was a recent change, which really boosted the power of this ultimate. Additionally, Grover is crowd control immune. Early game, this is a beast. Late game, you're healing like a little more than Genos. This ultimate falls off so hard late game. And it's like, unlike Grok, Grover doesn't do anything else besides healing. He just does healing. This might piss off a lot of the competitive players, but... I'm gonna put it... I'm gonna put it below Evie. Because additionally, the range is really short. It's like, the base healing range for the passive Blossom is 80 units. It's half of your passive's range, which is really annoying because you can sometimes see an ally low and try to run up to them, and you don't get them in time. Additionally, I don't think it's mentioned here, but I think this ultimate increases your movement speed. I don't see that mentioned here, though. Could be wrong in that. Up next, we got my main, Imani, with Dragon's Call, where you summon and take control of a draconic avatar with the ability to rain down Frostfire Breath upon your enemies for 1,700 damage per second. The avatar lasts 20 seconds after 1.5 seconds of channeling. Imani herself gets left behind. She is rooted and immune to crowd control. The dragon is affected by Bulldozer. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but it has 6,000 HP. The biggest weakness of the ultimate, well, there's like two big weaknesses. One is that Imani's left behind and defenseless. So if the enemy team has competent flankers, very often they could find you and just murder you. And if you die as Imani, the ultimate gets cancelled, by the way. This is made even worse if you're using Mana Rift, because there's literally just an arrow pointing at you. Hey, come find me. The dragon at 6,000 HP, it sounds like a lot, but dragon doesn't get any benefits from like Haven or anything, or Veteran. So burst damage, just that poor dragon just goes like that. You can block the damage with shields. You can block it with like Fernando's Immortal, for example, Terminus Siphon. That being said, against the right team, it's really good. You could just like shred people. I mean, it does force out movement skills. People are going to be running from this. 1,700 DPS, you're killing people in like 1.5 seconds. Another weakness of it is you typically ult kind of like far away from the fight, so Imani herself has to kind of like leave, which wastes time from your 20-second uptime, just getting the dragon into the fight. Or additionally, you could be more risky and use the ult closer up, but then you're more susceptible to flankers. I think this is just like top of B tier. It's really player dependent, match dependent. I think it's better than these other ones though. Barrack Shield can counter this, so there's another point for Barrack Shield. One idea I have been seeing, well, I guess this is an idea I thought of, but one comment I've been seeing a lot in my streams and some of my videos is a lot of people want to see the dragon buffs, at least in my community. And to be honest, I'm not too sure about that, because initially the dragon was like really overpowered. I think it had more damage. It had 7,500 health. If they were to buff the dragon, this coming from an Imani player, two things I would like to see. I would pick one or the other though, is either increase the dragon's movement speed, so if you do ult further away, you're not wasting as much time getting it into the fight, or adding a secondary fire where like maybe it charges up a fireball akin to like Pyromania, maybe even just like a Pyromania fireball. That'd be really cool, so you could use that at range. That'd be really fun, actually. I would love that. But obviously the main strength would still be in the Frostfire Breath, but just having like a cool secondary would be fun as well. Anyways, moving on, we got Inara with, I think her ultimate's called Seismic Crash, right? Hold on, wiki's loading. Seismic Crash, yep. Throw your spear, piercing shields and impacting the ground. This impact stuns enemies for 2 seconds and deals 500 damage in a 40-unit radius area around its impact. Has a range of 300 units. The channeling time is kinda crummy. It's 1.4 seconds of channeling, but Inara is CC immune during that time, and she's also not affected by gravity, so you can like launch yourself in the air with the impasse cards for flying Inara, and then use this ultimate to rain down on them. The damage is kind of low. Sometimes you could catch people off guard with this, like a Zahn, but it's really the stun, the big AoE stun, that's very important. I think this is also coming from a main tank, so like goes through shields, so you could like cuck a Fernando, you could screw Barrack. It does fall off late game because resilience is a thing. Like that stun goes from like 2 seconds to I think like just half a second, which is nothing. You're channeling for so long. With like a good team, this is just like free kills. If your team doesn't follow up, and I guess this is kind of the case for any ultimate in the game, but it's really true for Inara. If your team doesn't follow up, this ultimate does nothing. Inara does not have the damage to follow up on this ultimate herself. I think I'm going to put this another B. Do we think it's better than money? Not really, actually. Just resilience screws it so hard. I do think it's better than the gumball launcher. I think B's fine. I was tempted to put it A, but resilience screws it late game. Up next, we got Io with Be Gone. Project an ethereal manifestation of Luna and send it forward. Enemies caught will be pulled along the travel path and take 800 damage if they collide with a wall. You are immune to damage and crowd control while casting. This ultimate's the worst in the game, and like, you guys are welcome to argue with this in the comments, but the biggest thing it doesn't mention here, it also goes through shields, and enemies caught are stunned and get carried with the ultimate, so like this, that. But the biggest problem with this ultimate is the hitbox of it is huge. And, like, not in a good way, because you hit any wall, and the thing's gone. The main use of this ultimate is to get enemies off the map. And, like, very far away from you. But very often, the ultimate will clip on, like, a tiny piece of terrain sticking out, because you know Paladins jank walls, they be sticking out these little corners, and, like, pots and pans, and anything. And, like, very often you'll use the ultimate, you think you have, like, a clear line of sight, and it just explodes in your face, doesn't catch anyone, you die. Or, like, you think you have people on the travel path, you, like, catch 3 enemies, and they, like, get caught on a fence. You take the damage and live, and then you die. And it's like, the damage immunity, I mean, like, I guess that's fine, but it's like you're standing still. Like, a few things for this ultimate, which I am shocked Io's ultimate has been in this state for so long. First of all, that hitbox needs to be fixed. Like, I don't care if enemies are phasing through the wall, but the actual projectile itself, I don't know, like, the detonation hitbox of it needs to be made smaller. Like, it is so bad that you can actually catch enemies behind you as Io. And sometimes if you're right behind a wall, like, if you're right in front of a wall, back against the wall, and you use this ultimate, it'll, like, detonate immediately. Because it thinks it hit the wall. Like, so that needs to be fixed immediately. Other ideas I've seen is, like, having the ultimate go through walls, but if an enemy collides with the wall, they take the damage. Obviously, they aren't carried through the wall. Not sure about that one. That might be a bit of a problem. But alternatively, just rework it, because it's horrible. Okay, next up, we got my boy Genos with Through Time and Space. Lock yourself in place and concentrate for 1.2 seconds, focusing the power of the cosmos to unleash a devastating beam of energy that passes through all obstacles and enemies, dealing 2,650 damage. While charging the ability, you are immune to crowd control. Additionally, enemies inside the AoE are revealed. This ultimate had a recent buff. Originally, it was 2,400 damage, but they recently buffed it to 2,650 as a band-aid fix. Because this ultimate is affected by Haven and Veteran. So, like, they put the damage buff in to, you know, bring the ultimate back to one-shotting people, because that used to be the strength, is you would one-shot people because it was blast damage. Very often people wouldn't buy blast shields, so even late game you would execute someone if you hit this. But now with, like, 2,200 HP heroes having, like, upwards of 3,000 effective health, this ultimate still doesn't kill anybody. And I find it very easy to escape. People get caught in it, you know, sometimes you catch them at a good time, and when you do it, it's so satisfying. I will say, of the ultimates in the game, this is probably one of the most satisfying to get kills with. Made even better if you have, like, the Shatter or the Gold weapon, because they just disappear after the ult's finished. It's just... I don't think it's that great right now. You just... Even without Veteran, with Haven capped out, you can still tank this. It'll take out most of your health, yes, but, like, that's not the point of the ult. The point of it is to execute squishies, and you can't do that right now. Genos, like, the way you fix this is just reverting Haven and Blast Shields, bring those back, and getting rid of the new Veteran, or alternatively, just have this execute people, like, be a flat execute, but I don't know how that would go balancing. For now, I have to put it at... Even then, I think Ashe is more consistent. I have to put it at C tier for now. If this was pre-Haven Veteran, when it used to do 2004, but typically that damage wasn't reduced, that would be like easy top of B, maybe even A. But as it is right now with Haven Veteran, it's a C tier. Which is a damn shame, because it's a real fun ultimate. Up next, we have Khan with Overpower. Target an enemy in sight and drag them to you through the air. While overpowered, they are helpless and take 220 damage over the total hold duration. Can be fired to launch the victim away, dealing 700 damage in an area if they impact a surface. You are immune to crowd control while the ability is active, has a range of 180 units. The ultimate lasts for up to 5 seconds, so you can hold somebody for up to 5 seconds, and like Io, the main use of this ultimate is to throw people off the map, but additionally, if they're low health, you could just slam them into a wall, you could throw them at another low health enemy to take them both out, or what you see very often in ranked play is you'll see the Khan hold the enemy and just like face them towards his team, and the team just clobbers on them. Like, I think this is one of the best ultimates in the game. This used to be even better when it was an auto-lock skill. It used to be auto-lock when Khan first released. They changed it to a skill shot. If you do miss the skill shot, you get 30% hold charge back, which is nice. Trying to see anything else here. This can be reduced with resilience. It doesn't say how long you end up staying in the grab if you have max resilience. I'm not too sure about that. But it can be reduced by resilience, so keep that in mind. Next up, we have Kinessa with Headhunter. Channel your inner focus for 5 seconds, dealing 50% increased damage with shots to the upper half of enemies. While the effect is active, Sniper Rifle does not consume ammo. Additionally, the Sniper mode also charges 50% faster during the duration. This ultimate's pretty good. Even if you can't land headshots, you're still getting bonus damage from hitting the upper half of an enemy. So your sniper shots will go from 1,200 to 1,800, and if you headshot somebody that's like over 2,000 damage, 2,000. Oh my god, I'm blanking. 2,700 damage. And it also does affect your normal carbine rifle, so you can use that if like a flanker dives you. I find it's better used for like the sniper version. It's okay in the carbine rifle. I think this is really just like a player dependent. I think Amani-ult's better. I think Inara. Yeah, I think Inara's better. We'll put it middle of B for now. Next up is Koga with a really cool name for an ultimate, Cyclone Strike. Melt into the shadows, becoming ethereal and dealing 1,500 damage per second over 2 seconds to anyone within 25 units of you. This damage bypasses shields. Koga can move around while this is happening, has a 1.1 second activation time where Koga can't move. It does halt Koga's momentum when you activate it, which sucks. It does cleanse status effects, so if you're crippled, you could use this to get out of that. Additionally, what the biggest weakness of this ultimate is after you're finished, Koga can't do anything for 0.5 seconds. He like comes out of it, and I'm pretty sure he could take damage during that time. Like you could pop him with an Amani Fireball during that time to kill him. Koga's really slow with this ultimate. Like, unless you're catching someone without a movement skill, very often they'll just walk out of it. It's like 1,500 DPS. It's like, I mean, it's like Amani ult does 1,007. Like, these two, Betty and Bomb King, do more damage. Like, Caspian does a little less DPS, but you have it at range. I kind of want to put it at C. I'm going to put it at C above Genos. I don't think Cyclone Strike is that great. Which is sad, because it has a really cool name. If this made you travel a little faster, maybe like give you a small speed boost, then I would probably bump it up to B. Speaking of speed boost, though, the Blood Reaper talent for Koga. Cyclone Strike deals 125% of its target's maximum health as damage over its duration, and your movement speed is increased by 25% during the attack. It also increases your ultimate charge rate by 15%. That sounds good, until you realize against 2,200 HP targets, you're actually increasing your time to kill against them. So, hold on real quick, I'm going to tell you guys. Okay, Google. 125% of 2,200. 125%. Okay, so that's 2,750. let's divide that by 2. 1,375. So, against 2,200 HP targets, you're actually lowering your damage per second by 125. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but if an enemy's like low health, or if you're... It's just... I don't think it's that great. This is a sim tier. Hot take, I actually think Corvus is better. Sim tier. I actually had this talent as one of the worst in my top 10 worst talents video last year, not the recent one. And I'm surprised it still hasn't gotten changed. Actually, I think it did get changed. I think it had the old charge buff put in. Even then, it still sucks. Up next, we have Lex with the Law. Release an infallible surge of judgment, destroying shields and executing enemies at or below 65% health. Deals 600 damage to enemies above 65% health. Has a range of 120 units. There is a 1.2 second cast time, and it does damage in like a cone in front of you. Lex also moves really slow when you're casting this. And I believe it also slows enemies above the threshold. That being said, I think this ultimate sucks. Very often you get killed while casting it, or you like just don't find targets at that health pool, and it's like, even if they are at that health pool, you'd probably be better just like gunning them down. There are rare cases where you like execute a full team, and it is so satisfying. Like, that was the most satisfying thing when I started playing Paladins, because Lex used to be my main. It's very satisfying, just like Genos. That being said, if they're not at the threshold, like unlike Vora, who we'll get to later, like who still has a very noticeable effect if you hit the ult above 66, Lex's ult does like freaking nothing if you miss it. And it's like destroying shields is kind of nice. Like, you could use it to counter like a Barrage shield, or like screw it Aegis Fernando, but it's like I don't think it's that great. I'm trying to see. The range is okay. I was tempted to put it in sim tier, but I do think there are better ultimates. I'll put it C tier above Buck. I'm just debating if Buck is better than Atlas. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Next up, we have Privileged Girl Leon with Enlightenment. Channel the power of your noble blood, taking 50% reduced damage for 1 second. Then fire a powerful blast that pierces enemies, dealing 1,600 damage. And for some unknown reason, killing an enemy with Enlightenment refunds 50% of the ultimate charge. Has a range of 300 units. This ult is pretty good. Like, I don't know why they feel the need to give you half of your ult back if you kill somebody. But, like, I feel like it's the same idea as, like, Lex. Like, if you execute someone, you get more benefit. But even then, if you don't execute somebody, 1,600 damage is pretty good. And it also pierces enemies, so you could, like, line it up. You could follow up on a Sarah's ult. You could follow up on a stun from, like, Rom. I think it's pretty good. This ultimate used to be, like, so unfun, if you guys remember. It used to give you full damage immunity when casting, and that was so aggravating. Because, like, bad Leon players would just, like, use this to cuck you when you were about to kill them. You know what? I think it's an A tier. And... better than Betty? Nah. Better than Caspian? The Caspian's the one I'm so unsure about. I don't know if this feels better than Caspian or not. I'm gonna play it safe and put her above Caspian. Up next, we got Lilith with the Blood Moon. Lilith channels the Blood Moon, granting allies 35% pure lifesteal that is not affected by anti-healing. Lilith herself takes 50% less damage and moves 50% slower while activating the ability. During the ability, Lilith has increased movement speed, jumps higher, and regenerates 525 blood every 1 second. The effect lasts for 8 seconds. Additionally, it doesn't mention it here, but it cuts the cooldown of your Death Wings in half, so that goes from 3 seconds to 1.5 seconds. And because you're constantly regenerating the blood, you can just, like, constantly just jump all over the place. For Lilith herself, it's really good. Just 525 self-healing is pretty good, and especially since you need that health to cast your abilities, that is really good. The 35% lifesteal, I don't know how to feel about this. Initially, it sounded really strong, but, like, in practice, it's not that great. The only time I've really noticed the 35% lifesteal is when I was playing, like, Terminus, and it was late game. The Lilith was healing me. Her normal healing was doing nothing. But my axe swings were healing, like, a nice 230, I think, per swing, which is pretty good, but... like, for Lilith herself, pretty good. For her teammates, like, it doesn't really save your teammates in any way. I feel like if the ult gave me, like, maybe gave everybody, like, Genos marks, something like that, like 100 healing per second on top of the lifesteal, maybe it would feel a little better, although I don't know if that would feel too bloated. You know what? I think Barracks Dome Shield's more impactful. I'm gonna put it at C. Alrighty, up next we have Mave with Midnight. Enemies within 300 units have their vision restricted to a 30-unit radius for 4 seconds. This is affected by Resilience, where with Resilience capped out, the duration is 2 seconds. And you could also cleanse Midnight by becoming CC immune. So if you're like Koga, you could dash, cleanse it. If you're Vora, you can use a slam and cleanse it as well. So a lot of ultimates can cleanse this. I don't think Midnight's that great. Additionally, you could use like Cassie ult and just negate the whole thing. I mean, losing your vision sucks, but I mean, I do think it's better than Cyclone Strike, so we'll put it at C for now. Next, we have the meme ultimate of the community. This is Makawa's Ancient Rage. Call on the power of the ancients. Drop your cannon and start swinging your anchor, dealing 550 damage every 0.8 seconds to enemies within 20 units in front of you. While the ability is active, you have 4,000 increased max health and are immune to crowd control. The effect lasts 8 seconds and you can be refired to cancel. Small activation time of 0.3 seconds, and it fully heals you when you activate it. You can use your Dredge Anchor and Shell Spin as well while the ultimate is active. I feel like this ultimate is not as good as a lot of people say it is. Like, when I first started playing, this ultimate was a nightmare because Makawa also had higher damage in it. I think it used to do 650 swing, now it's 550. I mean, you can use it to, like, if you're about to die, you get a second life pretty much, but then you're restricted to melee on a character who can't really fight melee range besides the max health. I think it's really player dependent. Ancient Rage, I think you could get, like, bursted down so fast in this, and you can't use your shield, which sucks. If you're using half shell, this is a little half shell tip. The deployed shield doesn't disappear when you use this, so you can use the shield from half shell to dance around, but in base you can't use the shield. I'm gonna put it below Amani, because at least with Amani, if your dragon melts, you're still there, whereas Makawa, you melt, you're dead. And then we have the Leviathan talent, which, by the way, y'all, talents, I will be covering these again in the talents tier list when I get to that. But Leviathan increases your ult charge rate by 25% and your max health by 500. When you activate Ancient Rage, it resets the cooldown of Dredge Anchor and Shell Spin. So you could hook and spin, pop your ult, hook and spin again. I mean, it's really the same thing, just a little bit better. And you also have more health to play with, so I guess there's that. Okay, next up we have Maldamba with the Dread Serpent. Fire a dark vessel that explodes when it impacts, causing all enemies in a 40-unit radius to become feared for 2 seconds. Reactivate the ability to detonate the vessel early. So additionally, if targets walk into the fear after it exploded, they still get feared for 2 seconds. I could have swore this was 3 seconds. It says 2 seconds on the wiki, but I feel like that's wrong. I feel like it's 3 seconds, y'all, but I don't want to actually, like... You know what? I'll check. Hold on. Okay. Apparently it's 2 seconds. I could have swore it was 3 seconds, but whatever. This ultimate used to be really strong before Cauterize went into the base kits of everybody. When you had to buy Cauterize and you couldn't rush Resilience, this ultimate was incredibly strong. Now, though, with you being able to get Resilience right away from the start, it's definitely fallen off. It's kind of in the same vein as, like, Inaro's ultimate, where it's pretty good early game and then falls off really late. A lot late game. It doesn't do damage unlike Inaro, though, but you also can move around while casting it, so there's that. I think I'm going to put it below Inara Seismic Crash. I think hers is a little better, just because you do get the damage. And you also get the stun, so people aren't moving. It's much easier to follow up on that. That being said, I also love how every character has a custom fear animation. That's very funny. I might do a video on that. That'd be a fun one to make. Next up, we have Moji with Bon Appetit. Cast an arcane spell that transforms a single victim into a treat. Coming into contact with your transformed victim, executes them, and prevents ability-based revival, aka Terminus. Effective up to 500 units. The effect is up to 4 seconds. The person affected becomes damage immune, so they can't take damage from anywhere. They can be affected by crowd control, so you can stun the treat to make it easier for Emoji to get them. The person affected by the ult has their movement speed decreased by 10%. Abilities cannot be activated while Poli is eating the treat. That sucks so much, because you eat the treat and you're basically like punished for it. Where it's like you already have to land the skill shot, you already have to dash into range to get them. Like the treat can juke you out with wall jumps. And it is also affected by resilience, in which case the minimum duration of the ult is 2 seconds. I don't think this is that great. It's sim tier. I think it is better than Corvus, just because you do have the execute capabilities. Like, you can use this point blank just to ignore all that, like, running around. So, like, you go right up to a tank and you just execute them, poor thing dies. But that lockout sucks, and everybody complains about the lockout, yet they don't do anything about it. Like, I don't understand. Moji needs help, yo. Up next, we have Octavia's Creeping Barrage, perhaps the most original aspect of her kit. Rain down a laser barrage upon your enemies that deals 850 damage per beam. Creeping Barrage is cast out in a devastating line in front of Octavia. Beam Cluster is set up into 2 parts, a smaller targeting beam that deals 100 damage and destroys shields if it makes contact, and the larger damaging beam that deals 850 damage. Has a range of 300 units, fires 12 lasers in the chosen area. Each laser covers 10 unit radius. Additionally, it doesn't say on the wiki here, but if Octavia dies... If Octavia dies after the ultimate is cast and it's not done, the ultimate will just end. Which is so annoying. I don't know why it's like that. That'd be a really nice quality of life buff if you're killed, the ultimate still comes out. But I feel like the base ultimate doesn't feel that impactful. Like, yeah, sometimes you get somebody, but more often than not, you just, like, step to the side, and even if you take damage, it's, like, 850, you could get healed up right away. I'm gonna put it at C above Maeve. I think it's definitely more consistent than that. Continuing with Octavia, we have the Display of Force talent. Enemies are rooted in place when they are hit by the pre-fire beam, and the Creeping Barrage deals 1,450 damage. So the Creeping Barrage gets a 600 damage bonus, and the root is 1.5 seconds. Unlike the base ultimate, this is really potent and noticeable. That root especially, like, that just guarantees you land the damage, and the higher damage, like, so good. You follow this up with, like, 1 weapon shot, and chances are the target's dead. And, like, you could also root people multiple times if they, like, dash backwards. Like, so good. So good. Just having the root makes it. Even if the damage was the same, it's just having that root makes it so good. Hot take, I'm putting this at A. I'm gonna put it bottom of A. I think this ultimate's way better than the original. Up next, we have Pip with Evil Mojo. Fun fact, the section of high-res that works on Paladins named their studio Evil Mojo Studios after Pip, yet Pip is constantly neglected in the skins department. Go figure. Anyways, so launch a mysterious flask that polymorphs and deals 200 damage in a 40-unit radius, turning vulnerable enemies into helpless chickens for 4 seconds. Chickens have 1,500 health and return to their previous state and health values when the effect ends. Has a minimum polymorph duration of 2 seconds if resilience is capped out. And the projectile goes through shields. The explosion ignores shields. The radius is huge, 40 units. That's half a Grover circle. That is pretty good. And only champions can be turned into chickens, obviously. You can, like, shoot people like you can with the Moji treat, but enemies can take damage with this. You can, like, stun the chicken. You can, like, murder those poor chickens. I think this is a very good ultimate. And even with 2-second duration, resilience capped out, that is kind of rough. It does fall off late game, but early game, you can, like, typically kill at least one chicken with base pip. If you have Catalyst, you can, like, kill at least 2 chickens by yourself. And even then, if you have your team following up, which they should, you're the support. Pretty good. I am gonna put this at B. I think it's in line with, like, Anora and Maldamba. I'm gonna put 2 seconds, 1,000. I think it's better than Maldamba, definitely. I'm just debating if it's better than Anara. Because, like, the chickens can do, like, wall jumps. They can juke you. They can take cover behind an enemy shield if they tag the front line through the shield. Yeah, I think I'll put it below Anara. Next up, we have Rom with Cataclysm. Savagely stomp on the ground and send forward a shockwave in a 45-degree cone that deals 999 damage and stuns enemies for 1.2 seconds. This ability pierces enemies, destroys shields, and deployables. Has a range of 100 units. You're rooted and immune to crowd control while using the ability. You could turn up to 60 degrees in either direction after activation. Additionally, if you hit somebody, you get 3 soul fragments, so 600 soul armor for each enemy hit. Yeah, destroys deployables. I think this ultimate's really good. It also charges pretty fast. There is a talent, technically, for the ultimate, but it just makes it charge faster, so I didn't put it here. Destroying shields, so good. Destroying deployables, also very good. You just, like, hard counter main tanks with this. And even then, if they get resilience to reduce the stun, you're still doing 999 damage. That's a lot. That's pretty hefty, and usually with the stun, it's like, the stun is lower than Anara, but you have the damage to follow up on it coming from the stun itself and your Hellfire Gatling. I think it's definitely better than Anara. I think it's better than Makawa. I think Subservience is Subservience. I think Cataclysm is better than Amani. Better than Octavia? Honestly, yeah, I would say so. Better than Caspian? Yeah. Better than Leon? Yeah. Better than Betty and Bomb King? Honestly, I would say so, yeah. Better than Grover? That's a good one. I think, honestly, hot take, I'm gonna put it at the top of A. Also, fun little, story with this ultimate. When Rom first released, he had a balance patch for the original Subservience talent, where it was not affected by walls, like collision didn't matter. And I misread that, and I thought it was his ultimate that they were talking about. And I'm like, yo, Rom can use his ultimate through walls? That would be so cool. It's not, though. But just a fun little story. Next up, we have Ray with Vivify. Unleash a burst of energy into your linked ally and infuse them with life, making them immune to damage for 2 seconds, and healing them for 75% of their max health after a brief delay. You also gain 50% damage reduction for the duration of Vivify, as well as healing 75% of your max health. You can use this ultimate by yourself to give yourself the damage reduction and healing yourself, but it's much better when used with an ally. Originally, this ultimate's been through a lot since it released. It used to just full heal you and give damage immunity to both you and your target. And then, like, they changed it on the PTS, and, like, the description is wrong. So what it is now, it gives your target the damage immunity. It doesn't give Ray. It gives Ray the 50% damage reduction. I think this is a really damn good ult. Like, it's on the same level as Fernando. Dare I say, better than Fernando. Just because this is... It brings you to full health. It doesn't keep you at 1005. And you could also use it on yourself, so you get 2 people pretty much at full health. Like, one chain heal puts most people back to full health anyway. And also that 75% health is not affected by Cauterize, which is incredibly strong. Did I say that already? I don't think so. If I didn't, I said it again. Vivify, good ultimate. Next up, we got Ruckus with Hexafire. After 1 second, reveal 2 miniguns and rocket launchers that rapidly fire for 4 seconds. The guns deal 120 damage every 0.04 seconds, and the launchers deal 250 damage every 0.25 seconds in a 10-unit radius. You take 10% reduced damage, but your movement speed is reduced by 75% while the effect is active. Ruckus is immune to crowd control while the ability is active, can be refired to cancel, blah blah blah. Ruckus moves at 5% move speed for the duration. Yeah, you're pretty much at like a standstill when you use this. I don't know why it's talking about move speed reduced by 75%. I'm trying to see. I believe you can also use your emitter while this ability is active, so you get the shields on top. If I'm not mistaken, this ultimate is the highest DPS in the game. I'm not calculating that right now, but you shred through people with this ultimate. The problem is you're standing still and extremely vulnerable while it's active, but people need to break line of sight or like challenge you immediately with this. There's no in between. You're getting lit up. I think it is very easy to outplay this though. I'm gonna put it right below ROM. I feel like ROM is a little better for consistency. I was tempted for S, but like you can outplay this ultimate pretty easily. Like just break line of sight or use damage immunity, whatever you need to do. You can challenge Ruckus himself. Up next, we got Sati with Wallbang. Supercharge your hand cannon to fire 3 bullets. Each bullet pierces the world and enemies, dealing 777 damage to anyone unlucky enough to be in the way. There is a 1.1 second delay between shots, which I feel like kind of cripples the use of this. The ultimate does not apply Cauterize, so if you have like a friendly Ceres just heal botting it up, the ultimate's like damn useless. Additionally, similar to Genos, Haven Veteran is a thing, so chances are even if you do hit all 3 shots, you're not going to be killing anybody late game. I also feel like Genos is just better. Yeah, I'll put it right below Genos. It's kind of like the same ordeal, just your damage comes in smaller chunks as opposed to one big blast. But yeah, I don't think Wallbang's that great. Typically, ultimates that have cards to get more ult charge by doing something, like Sati has a card to get ult charge by hitting the coin. Typically, those ultimates aren't the best. Like I know Androxus has one with the gumball launcher, but like he's a B. That's not that. It's not that amazing. All right, up next we got Ceres with Convergence. Cast your soul core onto the battlefield, causing a tear in reality to manifest a half a second after it lands or you detonate it. Enemies within 60 units are dragged in and stunned for 1.4 seconds. This recently got a massive buff where you can reactivate the soul core to detonate it in midair, which means you can use this to pull people off the map. You can use it to pull people above shields. Like, I know people say this ultimate isn't that good because with resilience the stun is like nothing at the end, but even so, just pulling people in for like a split second, this is why Makawa's hook is so powerful. That is so good, and you could do it to potentially the whole team if you have line of sight. And if you're running Soul Collector, you could typically follow up on the damage just by yourself, but it gets even better if you follow this up with like a Sky Time Bomb, Dredge, Genos, Sati, literally like any damaging ultimate you follow this up with, it is so good. Even if you don't have ultimates, you still have like a 1.4 second stun, like, like you're better than Inara. Ooh, is it S worthy? I don't think so, because you can like play around it, you could use a shield to block it. I mean, typically you want to grab people above the shield, but I am gonna put Ceres at the top of A, just like barely missing S. I think it might be an unpopular opinion, like I said, but I think Convergence is really good, especially in Onslaught, where the maps are nice and small. Next up, we got Shaolin with Heat Haze. Enter stealth and increase your movement speed by 30% for 8 seconds. While active, you draw your longbow 50% faster and reveal yourself each time you fire. This ultimate used to be really fun. Back when Shaolin actually used to leave decoys of himself around the map. Now he doesn't do that. It's just you go stealth and you fire faster. Like, it's like on the same level as like Buck Wild, I guess. I mean, you draw your bow faster. That's like fine, I guess. Just not that great. If the enemy has Illuminate or Reveals, you're screwed. That element of surprise is gone. I'm gonna put it. I think it's better than Lex's ultimate. I'm gonna put it in C tier near Buck. Up next, we have Sky Time Bomb. Throw a bomb that deals up to 3,000 damage and destroys all shields after a 2.5 second fuse time. Fully effective up to 25 units and will hit players up to 75 units. This ultimate, despite Sky having a fairly weak base kit, I would say the ultimate's pretty decent. It's not great, like the fuse time is kind of long, 2.5 seconds, gives enemies more than enough time to get out of there. But like, you're following up on a Sarasol, you want to screw like a Barrack ultimate or like a Fernando Aegis. I'd say it's pretty good. I'm gonna put it at B tier. I don't think it's amazing, but like in terms of damaging ultimates, I think it's okay. We'll put it... I'm gonna put it above the Gumball Launcher. And actually, I'm moving the Gumball Launcher down a little. I think Dredge is a little better than that. Next up, we have Strix with Flashbang. Throw a Flashbang grenade that detonates on contact, blinding nearby enemies for 3 seconds, and the blind effect has a radius of 80 units. Come next patch, this is going to deal 250 damage, up from 150. It's not a damage fall off. The blind duration depends on how far you were from the center. Unlike Maeve's Midnight, which makes your screen black, this makes your screen bright white, which I hate, especially if you're playing late night Paladins with the lights off, my poor eyes. I mean, it's okay. You can cleanse it like Maeve's Midnight by like Koga dashing or like Vora Obliterate. I would say this is better than Maeve's Midnight, even though you have to actually like hit the projectile on like Maeve, which just casts it. Just because with Maeve you can see actually a tiny bit of the world around you while the effect is active, whereas with Strix you see nothing, you just see white. So I'm gonna put it above Maeve Midnight. I don't think it's amazing, but it's okay. You could also get this ultimate really fast with a card where just by hitting shots with your sniper rifle, you could get 5% ult charge. So like, that's pretty good. Up next, we got Talus with True Power. After a brief charge up, target an enemy and teleport directly to them from anywhere, dealing 600 damage and applying knockback. Time taken to teleport depends on your distance from targeted enemy. Has a charge time of 2 seconds. Talus is not affected by gravity during charging, so you could jump off a cliff and pop your ult and like surprise somebody. Typically people use this at like the start of the round, right when they're respawning. They'll typically pop it on like a support, does 600 damage, you follow it up with Blitz Upper for another 6, so you got 1200 right there, and then you just like murder them with overcharge, and then you teleport back. I mean, it's okay. Like, I feel like a lot of times with good teams, they'll hear Talus screaming his head off, and they'll just like see, okay, who's floating, who's getting targeted, which poor thing's getting targeted, and then everybody just clobbers on that poor child when he pops up. I don't think it's that great. Better than... Yeah, I think it's better than Cyclone Strike. Up next is my second main Terminus with the Reanimate. This is usable for up to 4 seconds after dying. After 2.5 seconds, you revive, dealing 2,600 damage to enemies in a large explosion upon revival. Fully effective up to 55 units. This can be blocked by shields. Ultimate charge is only spent if the skill is activated. Terminus means damage and crowd control while channeling. And you can't reanimate if you were executed by Moji or Yagoroth. This ultimate used to be really powerful. It used to be 4,000 damage, and then they lowered it to 2,006. So you still are executing squishies if you're nearby, but I mean, it's, against enemy front lines, it is like half their health, like a Dredge ultimate, but it activates much slower. I would say the biggest detriment of this ultimate is that you have to be dead to use it. So, and there's like, if you're playing Terminus well, typically you're not dying that much, at least in my experience. So like, there are some games where I rarely use this ultimate. Additionally, even if you are dead, sometimes your whole team is dead with you, and if you self-revive, you're gonna die again. The only time it's viable to self-res is if your team's still with you, otherwise you go down again. One other thing that I would really love to see is self-reviving give you more Siphon charge back. Because if you use all your Siphon, then you die, then you use Reanimate, you're still waiting forever for your Siphon to come back. I feel like that would be a really nice quality of life buff if you got like at least half of your Siphon back when rezzing. Then that could be like at least a tactic. It's like, okay, let me at least throw myself away so I can self-res, get some Siphon back. That is a thing some Terminus players do. They'll like try and purposely die so they can use the ult to kill people, but it doesn't work like that. I'm sorry. This is coming from a Terminus main. He's my highest win rate character at the moment. don't do that. Just don't. Like, you can look for it if you're about to die, but don't go, like, running out trying to die. You ain't gonna get anywhere. I have to put it at the bottom of B, just because it depends if you're dead. If you're playing well and you're not dying, you don't have an ultimate. Up next is Tiberius with Blade Dance. Flourish your heavy blade and gain the ability to use Striking Tigron and Whirling Blades up to 5 times for 15 seconds. Striking Tigron is instantly dash forward in any direction, passing through all enemies and dealing 650 damage to any enemy hit. Whirling Blades is launch yourself upwards in an arc, whirling your blades around you and becoming immune to damage. On landing, deal 900 damage to all enemies within 30 units. And Striking Tigron has a post-fire time of 0.55 seconds, so it's roughly 1,300 DPS. This ultimate, I feel like, suffers the most from not being able to apply Cauterize. Just because very often, especially if you're using the primary, the Striking Tigron, just dashing through people, like Sarah's heal-botting it up, you're good. Who cares? Whirling Blades, you not being immune to... God. So, both of these skills are considered movement skills. So, if you get crippled during the ultimate, you actually cannot do anything. All you could do is walk. Additionally, what's hilarious is if you get hit by a Genos Void Grip while using Whirling Blades, you just sit there spinning until you land. It is the dumbest thing. I don't think this ult is that good. Like, in a small room, like a small ceiling, you could spam the secondary Whirling Blades to just become damage immune and spam out that 900 damage, but I don't think that's that great. I think really just a nice buff to this would be applying Cauterize to the primary hit. Maybe not the secondary, but the primary hit at least. This way you could actually, like, get meaningful damage in. As of right now, I don't think it's that great. I mean, you can also use it to run away, so I guess we have to put it above Azan for that. Running away. Best way to use your ultimate. Run the hell away. Ooh, nice. We got our final line here. Next up, we got Torvald with Hyper Beam. Unleash the latent power of your gauntlet to channel a massive wave of energy that deals 60 damage every 0.1 second and pushes enemies back. You are also CC immune while casting. The Hyper Beam lasts for 2.35 seconds, dealing up to 1,410 damage. So even if you don't knock anybody back, you're still getting some decent damage in. Does not apply Cauterize though, so keep that in mind. This ultimate is the best for getting environmental kills. Like, IO ultimate wish she was this good. Just because the ultimate is constantly coming out, each little tick, every 0.1 second, that applies knockback. And even with resilience capped out, if you have the beam on somebody the whole time, you could still typically get that kill. The problem is in smaller maps, like especially in Onslaught, like Primal Court does not have any environmental blast zones. And the map is so small, you're literally just pushing enemies back to spawn. It's like buying a few seconds. I mean, I'm gonna put it at B because it's very map dependent. Additionally, for Siege, you could push people off the point in overtime, which is extremely powerful. Oh, so many games have been won by that tactic. I'm gonna put it above Andros. I actually feel like it's better than Sky Time Bomb. I'm gonna put it there. We're in the middle of B. Alright, Tyra Crossfire. Increase your attack speed and movement speed by 40% for 4.5 seconds. During this effect, weapon shots will not consume ammo and can be refired to cancel. I feel like this is just Buck Ultimate, but better. You do have the rapid fire, so even if you're missing a few shots, you know, you're fine. I don't know what the DPS would be on this. Tyra does like 1,000 something DPS, so that'd be like 1,400, I'm assuming. I don't know why, but a lot of times this ultimate doesn't feel that impactful. Maybe it's the spread of the weapon, but... I definitely wouldn't say it's as like bad as Buck. I think it's better than Shaolin too. You can use all your other abilities while this is active, by the way. I'm gonna put it above Shaolin. And you know what, hot take, I think Hassan is better than Tiberius. Okay, up next is Vatu with Nightfall. Activate to start charging up. Reactivate to dash forward extremely quickly through enemies, dealing 800 damage and stunning enemies for 1.25 seconds. Distance increases with charge duration. You're immune to crowd control while charging. Minimum charge is 0.5 seconds, max charge is 2 seconds, and will automatically fire after 3 seconds. Can't be cancelled. Max range of 130 units, and charge duration does not affect the damage dealt. So I guess this is kind of like a side grade of Rom's ultimate. The thing is, though, you're like physically moving, whereas Rom stays where he is when he activates it. And also I guess the line where you deal damage and stun enemies is really precise on Vatu. Like, very often I'll be looking at someone and thinking I get them with the ultimate and it doesn't hit them. Or, like, map geometry will screw you up a little bit. It is pretty good if you like, pop it right away in close range. Then you hit your primary followed by Shadow Bombs. You can pretty much insta-kill anybody like that. Pretty nice for a flanker. And I think prior to Caspian, this was the only flanker with a stun in their base kit. Although this is an ultimate, Caspian has it as an ability. Nightfall, let's see. I feel like it's kind of inconsistent. And even then, the stun is short. So, like, if you're disoriented from, like, winding up somewhere where you weren't expecting, you typically will miss the opportunity to follow up on someone. Whereas, like, Rom, you see it, you know. I'm gonna put it below... I'm gonna put it above Maldamba, Dread Serpent. I think it's, like, in that like, same tier. Okay, 7 is Decree 77, or as I call it, the face reveal. Target enemies with your mask, locking onto them for 0.35 seconds, which then marks them. While enemies are marked, you can refire his ultimate to trigger the mark, dealing 250 damage and fearing them for 2 seconds. You can target up to 5 enemies, and the duration is 5 seconds. The ultimate can't be cancelled, but I think you can be stunned out of this. You are not CC immune during this. I feel like this is just better Maldamba ult. I thought Maldamba ult was 3-second fear, and this was 2 seconds to justify, like, being able to use it anywhere. But no, this is really just, like, better Maldamba ult. Because you could, like, grapple up, go invisible, and, like, target anybody. You have good damage, so you could follow up on this by yourself. And even then, you could target the whole enemy team, and you basically have Maldamba ult as a flanker, and, like, everybody could follow up. I definitely think it's better than Maldamba's ult. And it also activates really quick. 0.35 seconds, you just look at somebody, you got it. And you could also, like, hold the mark so, like, people will think they're safe, and then you just, like, fear them when they're retreating to safety, and they come back towards you. Like, that's great. But then we get to Overcharge. Decree 77 will no longer fear enemies, but will deal 1,100 damage to enemies and nearby targets in a small radius, after targeting an enemy for 0.8 seconds. Your ultimate charge rate is also increased by 50%. That freaking 0.8 second charge is so annoying. There's this giant laser that, like, comes out of 7's face, and it's loud as hell. It's so distracting when playing. And it's like, if the enemy moves out of line of sight, or, like, you lose track of them, because the targeting on this is way more sensitive than the base Decree 77, you have to start the 0.8 second charge time again. So, like, in some cases, if you're fighting someone like Jittery, like, I don't know, like in a Betty Lobomba jumping all over the place, it's so annoying to activate this. And it's like 1,100 damage, like, wow, I could have done that with, like, a mag dump. I could have done that with, like, a few shots from my auto fire. Why do I need a talent to do that? Sim tier. Yeah. And the fact that you have to pick a talent to get a mediocre ultimate, like, no, that makes it even worse. Next up, we got Victor with Barrage. Bring up your targeting binoculars to rain down damage on enemies. Target an enemy player to guide an artillery shell to their location, dealing 1,400 damage in an area. Using this ability consumes 40% of your ult charge, and each shell consumes an additional 20%. So, if you don't use all the shots, you get part of your ultimate refunded. While using Barrage, your movement speed is reduced by 40%. Barrage Explosion has a radius of 20 units. I feel like this is a pretty good ultimate, and you could also lock out the stealth targets as if they don't have enough counters. It is kind of tricky to use if an enemy, like, swarms you. That is one counter to it. Get in Victor's face and just jump all over the place. He is kind of defenseless while this is active. If you have line of sight with the Victor, though, like, good luck. Good luck. He pops 2 of these down, you're dead. Has AoE, so, like, you have to be careful if you're near people. I think it's just a solid damaging ultimate. Like, honestly, I kind of want to put this at the top of B, above Amani. I just feel like it's nice and easy. Good for the starter character in this game. Simple. Next up is Vivian with the broken plates. I mean, the Sentinels. Deploy 2 Sentinel drones that fire energy blasts where you shoot your light machine gun. Each Sentinel fires every 1 second, dealing 150 damage in a 12-unit radius. Has 1,600 health. The Sentinel drones last until you are killed or they are destroyed. So if you play right, this is one ultimate like Barrack Forgefire where it could be active for the whole game. 150 extra damage every second, that's like okay. It's really just a damage bonus, 2 times 150. Okay, so they both fire every second, so like an extra 300 damage. I mean, it's fine. It's a nice DPS boost for Vivian. Gives her a little bit of AoE. The AoE is so small, though. I feel like it's not that great. Also, if you're fighting a Blaster champion like Dredge, Drogoz, even if they're not targeting the drones, which, by the way, nobody does that. Nobody targets the drones. Like, why would you if you kill Vivian, the ultimate ends? But just having an enemy blaster just invalidates this ultimate so much. I don't think it's that great. Also, it takes forever to charge, which, I mean, I guess you could charge a second ultimate while you already have one active, but it's like, who cares? I don't think it's that great. Like, it's okay. It's definitely better than C tier, but I wouldn't say it's, like, amazing. I'm gonna put it B tier, above Barrack, below Cassie. Alright. Next up is Vora with Harbinger's Wrath. Channel your wrath to hunt your enemies, increasing your movement speed by 60% and decreasing the damage you take by 30%. You select a target in range with primary fire to hit them, disabling them, stunning, crippling, and silencing them. Why don't they just say disabling? Whatever. Enemies above 66% max health take 1,100 damage, while enemies at or below 66% health are executed. This is basically just Lexalt, but way better, because even if you don't get the execute, 1,100 damage with the stun is so good. Does it tell you how long the stun is without it? No. It tells you that it ignores shields and ignores crowd control immunity. Like, that's that. Okay. Whatever. You could use the ultimate to run away with the damage resistance and move speed boost. But even if you don't get the execute, just 1,100 damage, you could follow that up with like a primary and the obliteration to still kill your target. Like, I would say that's pretty good. The only time it's not that great is if you hit a frontline with it. But if you hit a squishy target, that's half their health. So, like, that's still good. It's not freaking pathetic 600 damage like Lex. I'm gonna put this in A tier. I think it's a good old... Has lots of uses. But actually does something unlike a Zon. Only thing that sucks is you have to be melee range to use it, but that's kind of not an issue with Vora's Tendrils. I'm gonna put it above Leon. Right over there in A. Okay. Next up we have Willow. Who's Willow? Like, the trees? I love weeping willows. They're so pretty. This is Fey Flight. Take to the skies and fly. Gaining control of your movement in the air. Yeah, that's a lie. Lasts 10 seconds and can be refired to cancel. You're immune to crowd control while the ability is active. So you have a channel time 1.6 seconds, and basically you don't consume ammo, and you can fly around. Which, like, with base Willow without Blast Flower, that just sucks. You do no damage. Willow has, like, one of the weakest primaries in the game. And also, the ideal way to use this ultimate is to get high in the sky and rain down above like you're a Drogoz. But getting to the sky with the ultimate is so awkward, especially if you use it on the ground, because you have to, like, look down and hit your S key to go up, which is just so weird, and you're, like, so stationary. Like, the way you have to activate this ultimate ideally is you have to use your flutter going up, your movement skill, and then you activate the ultimate, and then you got height. One quality of life buff I would love to see to this ultimate is it resetting the cooldown of flutter and being able to flutter in the ultimate. So, like, if you need a burst of movement to dodge something because you have the same weaknesses as Drogoz, like, any hit scan will take you down before you could kill them because you barely have any damage as Willow. But, like, that would be really nice, so you could have, like, a burst of movement to dodge hit scans and stuff like that. As of right now, it's not that great. I think those are better. I think Azan is better. I think it's better than Tiberius. I'll put it in C tier, but I don't think it's that great. Up next, we have the ultimate, which, upon release, was definitely an S tier. This is Yagura's Devour. target an enemy to start pulling them towards you, swapping your current health for a new 3,750 health pool. Your target is immune to damage and crowd control and cannot move during this process, but can still fire their weapon at you. If your health pool is depleted before they are devoured, you drop your target. Otherwise, they are executed. Can only be used in planted form. Has an effective range of around 45 units. Yeah, there's a bunch of freaking text for this one. If the ult gets cancelled, you get freaking, like, stunned for... Where is it? Has a time of 2 seconds after the ultimate. Does it say? I don't know, but if you miss the ultimate, if they break your health pool, it's a self-stun, pretty much. And recently they added a change where you have to be, like, 40 units away to actually activate it. Previously, you could activate it, like, right in your opponent's face and get the Devour right away. Pulling your opponent takes forever. It is so slow. I'm trying to see. It has a time of 0.9 seconds until pulling the enemy starts. So, like, there's almost a full second where nothing's happening, and the enemy could fight back. Has a time of 2.5 seconds after reaching target until the enemy is eaten. Like, almost 3 seconds before you execute your target. Like, oh my god. More often than not, this ultimate fails. And at that point, it's just a self-stun. Like, the only time you use this is if an enemy is alone. Because, like, when you pop this ultimate, everybody goes on you. And your little 3,750 health pool, that, like, pops so fast. I mean, executing someone is nice, but I feel like it's in the same vein as Moji right now. And, like, some people say, oh, you could use it to save yourself with the second health pool. I really don't see that argument, because people melt your first health pool, you pop the ultimate, they melt the second one, and then you're back at, like, 10 health on your first health pool, you die anyway. So, and you definitely guaranteed to die with that freaking stun. I think this is worse than Moji ult. I can't suggest any buffs for this because Yagoroth is like such a bloated mess of a champion. I do have a champion rework idea planned for her, but honestly, at this point, I don't even know what to do with the ultimate. Like, my idea is to just get rid of that second health pool, but like, I don't know, it's such a nightmare to balance. Up next, we got Ying with Illusory Rift. Shatter your mirror, restoring 600 health to all allies every second for 8 seconds. While active, you may teleport to any ally with Dimensional Link. I feel like this is the only good part of Ying's kit. Just, like, her base kit sucks. She's just all about healing, but she doesn't even heal that great, like, especially when compared to, like, Lilith. But, the ult not needing line of sight, being global is very nice. 600 health a second is pretty decent. Other characters like Seris can heal 1,000, but, like, it's still really good, especially if, like, people are low in the backline and you definitely can't reach them. You pop this and you save them. Late game, it is really rough with Cauterize, but you can... It's easier to get value from this late game because it's not short range like Grok or Grover. That being said, I think these two are better. Just because you have the move speed, like, you have the ambush tactics with this, and you have the nice burst healing from this. Whereas this, it's just like a little better healing for 6 seconds. Alrighty, last up we have Xin with Spite. Launch forward and stun an enemy with a series of vicious melee attacks, dealing 2,000 damage over 1.5 seconds. While attacking, you're immune to crowd control. Has a range of 90 units, and failing to hit an enemy will refund 30% all charge. If at the end of the duration, if both targets are still alive, if both Xin and the target are alive, the target... At the end of the duration, if they're both still alive, Xin and the target will be pushed away from each other. Both Xin and the target are vulnerable for the duration, so if you're Xin, you could like stun a main tank pretty much, and have your teammates follow up. That stun is not affected by resilience, so pretty good if you get like a main tank, or like you get the enemy support, but you know you won't be able to kill them like a Lilith or something, and you have your teammates nearby, they can follow up and still get that kill. Deals 400 damage per attack with 5 attacks total. I believe that is affected by Haven, so late game this does really suffer. You could also use this for mobility. Xin normally lacks vertical mobility, but you could use this vertically to go anywhere. I think it's okay. Like, of the execution ults that the flanks have, I feel like Vatu is better because you do have the stun. I do feel like it's better than Talus, though. I'm gonna put it C. Because, like, Haven Veteran screws this. You could also just have, like, a Sarah's healbot it up. I know I'm saying that a lot, but a lot of that's how supports counter these. You could just healbot it up, and then it gets, like, 0 value. Next up we have... Next and last up, actually, we have Zin's Guillotine Talent. This used to be a hot topic for the ranked community. This is Spite deals 20% of its target's maximum health with each hit. So, you have 5 hits, each does 20%. You will fully execute your target if they don't get healed, or if they don't have Haven. Because if they have Haven, that damage gets reduced, and then they don't get executed, and then what's the point of picking this talent? Previously, I think this used to actually give, like, damage immunity to Zin, which that was stupid. It also used to do 25% of the target's max health with each hit. So you would kill people in 4 slices, which was the main, like, discussion point, because you could execute tanks really fast. I don't know how you would buff this talent. Because right now, I don't see a reason to pick it. Like, yeah, you can do more damage to a frontline, but... like, if they have the support healbotting it up, if they have Haven, like if it's a Zon with like base damage reduction, you're not getting that kill anyway, so yeah, like healing is very prominent in this game. So if an ultimate claims to execute but can't do that, like I don't know, like maybe even just I personally wouldn't want to see the damage go back to 25% because that was very unfun to play against as a frontline, but maybe like 22% or something, I don't know. I do feel like this is better than the base ultimate, so I'm just going to put it above. Alright, that is our tier list, y'all. So at S tier we have Furia, Furia Inflame, Khan Overpower, Drogoz Dragon Punch, Ray Vivify, Fernando Immortal, and Grok Tempest at the bottom of S. Then, I'm just going to skip all the way to Sim tier, y'all can see. At the bottom of Sim tier, first up we have Moji, then we have Yagarath, Devour, Corvus, Entropic Breach, 7 Overcharged, Koga, Blood Reaper, and at the bottom of the barrel, the worst ultimate in the game, Io Begone. Like, y'all can argue this one in the comments. I would love to see your arguments if this isn't in a Sim tier. But that's going to be our tier list, y'all. Whenever next patch rolls around, so not the Constellations patch, the one after that, I will be doing our final balance tier list. I'm going to be covering all the talents in the game. Additionally, I did get a request to try out, like, reviewing all the battle passes, so maybe I'll do that as well, maybe maps as well. I'm not too sure if you guys actually like tier list content. Let me know if you'd be interested in those ideas, and hope you guys enjoyed the video, and peace!